Well, hi and welcome to Glitch 2600. Who am I? Well, I'm Brian, aka Glitch, your friendly host through all things geekery. And geekery are all those fun electronic toys and fun things that you want to learn about, from computers to photography to videography, mobile devices, phones, iPads, and now Androids. I'm here to help you learn and make them a little less daunting. And then you're here for a Glitch Byte that we're doing during our Vlogmas 2020. And Vlogmas is just a way for us content creators to go and bring you something new and creative every day in December. Some people, only went through Christmas, but I'm with a group. We're going to power all the way through. And then after that, instead of being daily, we'll be having a weekly, schedule that we'll be going back to putting these tips up, along with our geek outs and happy hours that we still do. But having said that, you're here for a reason. You're here to learn about part 2 of using your GoPro to live stream or as a webcam. Either of the two, these tips work for both of them. Sorry, having my wine and a little bit right before. But having said that, we did have part 1 where we talked about the hardware, and if you go into our playlist, you can see that. Also in this video, in the description, you'll see a link that takes you to part 1 where, like I said, we talk about the hardware, that if you have a GoPro 8 or 9, you should have the media mod, the type of HDMI cable you need, some suggested, capture cards, and all that fun stuff. Well, today we're going to talk about the software and changes you might want to make on that. Now, if you're using the GoPro as a webcam and using the webcam software, then we already kind of talked about that yesterday, so I'm not going to talk about it again today. But we're going to get the GoPro back out. And unfortunately for some of this, I can't show it all on the screen as easily. So we're still going to go ahead and hook this up and have it start doing its thing. And let me go ahead and flip that over here. You'll see it start to pull through. So power up. Maybe. I like having to power it off and power it back on to get it to go live. There we go. It's because it was already powered on. So it's now seeing it, and it should be coming through any second now. We'll get that to power up. Come on. So I get with testing it right ahead of time. I was doing it, and then it needs to be able to come through. Come on. There we go. So now we'll see it doing its little check and then go through its launch screen. And then remember, when this comes up, that we use the side button to move through. As you can see, those different options on top there. And then use the top, the shutter, to select. So once I push that in, we'll see it on there now. Oh, unless I made it clear. There we go. And in fact, we're going to switch over to this view, and I'm actually going to go ahead and switch the cam. Because you'll see on here that if I wanted to, see, it's already highlight flagged because it sees it as recording, and we're not recording because I already hit that button, so it thinks it's going through a record right now. So now that we're back, we should see modes now. Or not. Dang. When in doubt. Like I said, we'll just power it off and then power it back on. The wonderful world of going live. So again, we'll power this back up. It'll go through its fun phase. So you guys get to see me again while this comes up. And we'll flip back over. And again, we'll use those options across the top, and you hit the shutter to select, and now you can see we have these menus across the bottom. If I hit shutter now, it will record. Otherwise, if I just hit these menu buttons, that's where I can change the mode. So I can switch it from a video camera. I can switch through my custom presets, and that's going to become important here in a second. go back to the media page, or the most important there where I can turn off the Live Pro. So now that we've talked about that, I'm going to switch over and show you the actual menu system. So I'm going to power this back up and talk about that, because it's important to know how you flip through those. You use the side button here to click through. Actually, we're going to pop back over on here because I think this is a better view for it. But we use the side button right there to go to move through, and then we use that shutter to select. So now that I've got that up, we're going to bring this in so you can see it, hopefully. There we go. So in our menu system, there's a few things that we want to turn on or off, and you can get to that by swiping down. You can also do it in the app, but if you just swipe down, that preferences, that becomes important, because as we flip through, there's things like your connections. When you go in there, you have connections, general, voice control, touch panel, input, output, regional. But under connections, that's where you can control if the webcam software, if we click that USB, it's talking about the webcam software. So that's where it's talking. And when it says GoPro Connect, it doesn't immediately think you want to use it like a memory card. It thinks instead you want to use it to connect as a webcam. So there's that. And you might need that if you're using the webcam software. If you're in live streaming mode, then instead under general, some of the things you might want to turn off are in here, that beep volume. I mute that because I don't need extra stuff while I'm on set making noises. I don't want that. Additionally, this default preset, remember how I said we could set presets at the beginning? Right now I have mine on last used video, but if you make a video preset that you're going to use, you could just switch to that and have that be your preset that you always do for live. So every time you power it up, it's in live streaming preset. The auto power off, you need to set that to never, because you don't want it turning off in the middle of your live stream. So make sure you set that to off. Maybe. Come on. Face priority. And then we'll scroll. LEDs don't matter. Anti-flicker just depends on where you're at. But that's that menu. The other big thing, if we get back, is the voice control menu. If I show that there, voice control. Come on, focus. There we go. I set my voice control to off. And that's very important. You want to know why we do that? Is if we look in commands, one of the commands was GoPro video. Well, what was happening is when I was teaching, when I didn't have the voice command off, I would be saying, yeah, I use a GoPro to video. And GoPro thought I was saying GoPro video and would kick off a recording, which would then change the format for what I was doing. And it would mess with my capture card. It didn't like that because it just changed the mode, randomly. And so in Ecamm, it would switch to saying it was lower resolution right then. So I go ahead, as much as I like the voice command and I don't want the voice shut off, I turn that off for when I'm using it for live stream. I only ever turn it on now for when I know I'm going to do something where I need to use the voice command out away from live streaming. So I'll turn it on where, if I'm with the kids or if I want to take a selfie and say, GoPro, take a photo. If I say that, then it'll take a photo or it'll count down for me. And that's the only time I need that. So real simple trick. Go in there and turn that off. So remember, turn off the auto shut off. You don't want that under the main. Turn off the voice control. And under general, turn that beep volume, in my opinion, to mute or quiet. So if you do have to click through, you're not hearing beep, beep, beep through all this stuff. And also, like I said, I changed that default preset. So having said that, that's the main stuff I do under preferences. You can lock orientation. You can do all sorts of other fun stuff. I'm going to flip this up. But the next most important thing I do is on that screen. And you'll notice that there's custom where it says custom down there. Well, if I tap that, I have different customs. You'll notice there's one for 4K, one for 1080, 60, and then standard. These top two are my general streaming settings. So if I'm doing 4K, I use the 4K option. If I'm only doing 1080, then I like to do 1080 at 60. So you notice I have it there and I have the lens set to narrow. If I were to click into one of these, then I go one step farther. So I set my resolution. Lens to narrow, I put that hyper smooth to boost so that it's really smooth if I do have to move around with it. Low light I turned off because I use lights, so I don't need them. I don't need anything extra messing with it. There's no zoom there because of what I'm using for that narrow. But I also turn on the Pro Tune. I keep my bit rate high. I normally leave my shutter at auto in my compensation, but if I ever find that it's not quite doing stuff right, I change it. Now my lights are 40, they're able to be tuned, but I generally keep this at around 4,000 because I have my lights close to 4,000. So I just automatically put in the white balance instead of letting it do auto and it mess with it. The next thing is I don't really change my minimum ISO. I always keep that as low as it goes, but that max I change because I did find that no matter what, the GoPro was always going to whatever I set the max to be. So sometimes I'll set that max to be 400 when I know there's a lot of light, or 600, and I just seem to get better picture quality out of it because of it, because it's not automatically trying to go up to ISO 1600, and then with the shutter at auto, it was always just making the shutter super fast. Well, if I switch the shutter to a specific speed, that probably wouldn't show up quite the same, but like I said, the ISO would be a little different. So that's why I turned that one down. Right now I have it at 1600 because I was doing some stuff out there. I keep the sharpness high because I like my pictures sharp. I know GoPros are already sharp, and I use the GoPro color. I'm not using raw audio. And for wind, I have auto, and because this has mics, I got the mic set to front. I could have it set to stereo, so it would go front and back, but with the media mod, I have it set to front because I don't want it picking me up if I'm producing behind the camera. And then you set your shortcuts to whatever you want there. I keep the lens and other things on there, but the important part is I make these presets, and if I go to the 4K one, which I'm going to flip onto there, the 4K, you'll notice, is pretty much the same settings. So it's the equivalent in 4K. You know, no compensation, no. Already had that high bit rate, but you'll notice it's still the 4500 because that's what I was using before, same ISO, everything else. And that becomes important because that's where you can set that preset on startup. But even better, if I hook this up again, especially if I can get out of the menu here. For some reason, it doesn't always register my fingers well because I think it just wants to torment me. But if I hook this back up again and we let this come on over, so we'll have that fire through. Remember, we move across the top using the left button and then the shutter to select and then move over. So if I needed to, I can move through these settings. So there's some that are pre-built and you can go in there and delete them. But what I do is I have it there because then since I can't do much on the back of the screen here, it, from a touch point of view, it allows me to cycle through those presets quickly. So if I went on 4K, there you go. It's going to be 4K. And all I have to do then is select it and then it'll fire through. But that's just quickly how I can change these custom presets. See, there we go. Now we're back to standard. Now we're back to our activity, slow-mo, cinematic, and then back to my custom. And then I can hit over and then hit the shutter button to select to have clean, stuff going. Hi, this is just Inception going on right there. So that just kind of shows a little bit of the software settings that I would do inside just to make your life a little bit easier. The voice control is a big one to turn off. The auto power off is a big thing to turn off, and those beeps. Everything else is kind of up to you. I like the shutter because I like a little bit more control So I've been leaving that to auto on that one just to keep things going fast, but I changed that ISO so I don't end up with stuff that's too grainy. A lot of times I'll actually have that back down more to the 400. I just had it up at 1600 for a filming I was doing without my main lights for a friend. So with that, those are the settings I do. But if you do those 3 core things, you'll be way better off and you won't have any issues. But that's it for the GoPro. Obviously, we can go into far more details and do more stuff, but this is supposed to be a quick tip, and this is already part 2 of it. So if you have questions on GoPro, then just submit them and let us know. We'd be happy to deep dive into it or go a little bit farther. But hopefully in part 1 and part 2, we'll get you everything you need to get started and more comfortable using your GoPro for a webcam or live stream camera. So if you did find that useful, then please, please, please go to that link, subscribe, and then hit the bell to be notified so you'll know when we're going live, which right now is every day. You can also hover over that little QR code over there if you're watching this on a computer with your smartphone. You just have to open up the camera, hover over it, and it'll say, hey, do you want to open that link? And it'll open this link. And that's where you can click subscribe and then hit the bell to be notified. You can also come join the fun on Facebook if you're interested. Just do a search for @Glitch2600 and you can come join and have some fun. Well, I hope you had a great time. I had a great time, teaching you about the GoPro. If you'd like more tips on this, please just let us know. Otherwise, stay tuned tomorrow. We're going to cover another Glitch Byte, another tip of information. And then we'll be getting a geek out scheduled for likely end of this week. We might wait until the New Year's, but if you're subscribed, you'll see us announce it when it's going to come out. So that's why you should go over there and subscribe. But it's time for me to get back to my wine. I hope you found this useful, and I'll talk to you again soon.